Testing, testing, one, two, what? Okay. Good day, good night, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Hello and greetings. My name is Baratunde Thurston. I'm a comedian, a vigilante pundit. I'm the co-founder of the blog Jack and Jill Politics, and this is part of a continuing conversation. Yesterday, I was on MSNBC, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to be specific, hosted by David Schuster. This was my second time on that program in as many days, talking about the New York Post cartoon, the one that everybody's been talking about. Yesterday I was on with my man Cenk Uygur, head of the Young Turks, a great innovative talk show. In fact, Cenk and I have worked together on a show called Meet the Bloggers. We run into each other at progressive conferences all the time. We have mad respect for each other. We have so much respect for each other that we decided that yesterday's program was not enough, that we wanted to keep the conversation going, keep the discourse going, and as expensive and limited as cable TV time is, that is until Cenk gets that 10 p.m. spot, right? As limited as cable time is, we would take this to YouTube to continue the discussion. There just wasn't enough time, and based on the comments that people were leaving on the video on both of our sites, we thought, hey, let's keep it going. Let's do what Obama has been trying to get us to do. Let's do what Eric Holder threw down the gauntlet about. Let's talk about race, baby. So here is what I wanted to pick up on. We'll do this as a video response back and forth to each other. In fact, this video is a response to the original airing. Cenk will respond to this video. I will respond to that video, etc., etc., etc. Now to the point. Where we seem to disagree and where I don't think we disagreed that much, we came to different perspectives. It sounded, Cenk, like you were saying that merely calling the New York Post cartoon racist puts a lot of people on the defensive who maybe aren't racist and certainly don't want to be seen as racist. And when you do that, they get clammed up, they get defensive, and you don't get the sort of conversation going that this country desperately needs. So just correct me if I'm summarizing you wrong in your response to me, but I think that's what you were saying. What I was saying is, feelings aside, feelings of racial sensitivity or of being labeled a racist aside, that I was trying to focus on the real harm that can come from such symbols of blacks as apes. And I cited the psychological study that you read, and I appreciate you reading it, by Dr. Philip Atiba Goff. We'll be putting supporting materials in the more info section over here so you guys can do your homework and join in the conversation. And so essentially what I was getting to is, I know that calling something racist can make people feel uncomfortable. I also know that being subjected to institutional racial disparities can make a lot of people have very uncomfortable qualities of life. And I think those two aren't opposed, but my priority is on the latter. And it's on trying to get to the environmental or institutional or big word type of racism that is separate from how white person X feels about person of color Y. Because I think a lot can get caught up in that feeling and that emotion, and we miss the whole point that we have a horribly unequal structural prison system, a horribly unequal and structural healthcare, housing, education, and financial system that are vestiges still of the foundation of a lot of where this country was based on. So we're not perfect, we're getting more perfect, but that was the point I was trying to make on the show. To your point about how we have a dialogue if certain people are going to get defensive and clam up, I agree that can be a problem. I also don't want to throw out this idea that if we worry too much about white people feeling defensive about possibly being called racist, and in so doing don't call out actual real life racism, that's the risk you run of that strategy. If you're walking around on eggshells worried about offending white people, you don't necessarily solve the problem. And on top of that, I would inject this idea that for the vast majority of this country's history, the burden of anti-racist work, of actually solving racism, has kind of been borne by people of color. It's been borne by black, brown, and yellow people. And white people have had to sign on for some of the legislative victories, but the real introspection, the real work hasn't been done. You have people who are like, well, I didn't own slaves, therefore I didn't do anything wrong. I voted for Obama, therefore I'm not racist, therefore this is not my problem. And what I'd like to couch this as is saying it's not just about, in terms of this cartoon, whether I'm offended, whether you're offended, we're both offended. For me, it was about the real harm that's caused by dehumanizing images that lead to things like police brutality. But even separate from that, I worry that if we get caught up in kind of trying to protect the feelings of people who may potentially be called racist, that we still end up having this sort of systemically unfair society. Basically, institutional racism doesn't really get handled because we're afraid to talk about it. And I want to know what your proposal is for how we attack the real racial disparities and the real harm that exists over here, while getting to your point that if people aren't even a part of the conversation, then maybe we can't get anywhere. I'm focused over here, and I think folks honestly are just going to have to thicken their skin and get over it, because I feel like black and brown and yellow people have been carrying bad feelings and lower quality of life for such a long time that a white person who's afraid of being called a racist, not my highest priority, but I'm open to it. So this is the dialogue, this is the discourse. I'm going to toss it to you via YouTube and to everybody out there. Thanks for tuning in. Cenk said he would be able to get a response back sometime on Monday, so maybe we'll do an every other day type of thing. Let folks weigh in the comments, and we'll post these on our respective blogs and tweets and friend feeds and books of faces. I'm Baratunde Thurston, and that's my statement for now. Let's have a racial dialogue, Cenk. Let's do it. Peace.